Sometimes I come across pieces of information or documents which on their own can be quite interesting, but may also have implications reaching across many different issues as well. So with that in mind, I've decided to start cataloguing these interesting documents when I can, for the sake of spurring conversation, being able to refer back to them myself in the future, and for the sake of having some primary evidences together in one place, so that if I or others refer to them, they are easily accessible. So with that in mind, I now read verbatim, written on February the 8th, 1920, on page 5 of the Illustrated Sunday Herald, Zionism versus Bolshevism, a struggle for the soul of the Jewish people, written by the Honourable Winston S. Churchill. Some people like Jews and some do not. But no thoughtful man can doubt the fact that they are beyond all question the most formidable and the most remarkable race which has ever appeared in the world. Disraeli, the Jew Prime Minister of England and leader of the Conservative Party, who is always true to his race and proud of his origin, said on a well-known occasion, "The Lord deals with the nations as the nations deal with the Jews." Certainly, when we look at the miserable state of Russia, where of all countries in the world the Jews were the most cruelly treated, and contrasted with the fortunes of our own country, which seems to have been so providentially preserved amid the awful perils of these times, we must admit that nothing that has since happened in the history of the world has falsified the truth of Disraeli's confident assertion. Good and bad Jews. The conflict between good and evil, which proceeds unceasingly in the breast of man, nowhere reaches such an intensity as in the Jewish race. The dual nature of mankind is nowhere more strongly or more terribly exemplified. We owe to the Jews in the Christian revelation a system of ethics which, even if it were entirely separated from the supernatural, would be incomparably the most precious possession of mankind, worth in fact the fruits of all other wisdom and learning put together. On that system and by that faith there has been built out of the wreck of the Roman Empire the whole of our existing civilization. And it may well be that this same astounding race may at the present time be in the actual process of producing another system of morals and philosophy as malevolent as Christianity was benevolent, which, if not arrested, would shatter irretrievably all that Christianity has rendered possible. It would almost seem as if the gospel of Christ and the gospel of Antichrist were destined to originate among the same people, and that this mystic and mysterious race has been chosen for the supreme manifestations, both of the divine and the diabolical. National Jews. There can be no greater mistake than to attribute to each individual a recognizable share in the qualities which make up the national character. There are all sorts of men, good, bad, and for the most part indifferent, in every country and in every race. Nothing is more wrong than to deny an individual, on account of race or origin, his right to be judged on his personal merits and conduct. In a people of particular genius like the Jews, contrasts are more vivid, the extremes are more widely separated, the resulting consequences are more decisive. At the present fateful period, there are three main lines of political conception among the Jews, two of which are helpful and hopeful in a very high degree to humanity, and the third, absolutely destructive. First, there are the Jews who, dwelling in every country throughout the world, identify themselves with that country, enter into its national life, and, while adhering faithfully to their own religion, regard themselves as citizens in the fullest sense of the state which has received them. Such a Jew living in England would say, "I am an Englishman practicing the Jewish faith." This is a worthy conception and useful in the highest degree. We in Great Britain well know that during the great struggle the influence of what may be called the national Jews in many lands was cast preponderatingly on the side of the Allies, and in our own army Jewish soldiers have played a most distinguished part, some rising to the command of armies, others winning the Victoria Cross for valour. The national Russian Jews, in spite of the disabilities under which they have suffered, have managed to play an honourable and useful part in the national life even of Russia. As bankers and industrialists, they have strenuously promoted the development of Russia's economic resources, and they were foremost in the creation of those remarkable organisations, the Russian cooperative societies. In particular, their support has been given, for the most part, to liberal and progressive movements, and they have been among the staunchest upholders of friendship with France and Great Britain. International Jews. In violent opposition to all this sphere of Jewish effort rise the schemes of the international Jews. The adherents of this sinister confederacy are mostly men reared up among the unhappy populations of countries where Jews are persecuted on account of their race. Most, if not all, of them have forsaken the faith of their forefathers and divorced from their minds all spiritual hopes of the next world. This movement among the Jews is not new. From the days of Spartacus Weishaupt to those of Karl Marx and down to Trotsky in Russia, Bela Kun, Hungary, Rosa Luxemburg, Germany, and Emma Goldman, United States. This worldwide conspiracy for the overthrow of civilization and for the reconstitution of society on the basis of arrested development, of envious malevolence, and impossible equality has been steadily growing. It played, as a modern writer, Mrs. Webster, has so aptly shown, a definitely recognizable part in the tragedy of the French Revolution. It has been the mainspring of every subversive movement during the 19th century, and now at last this band of extraordinary personalities from the underworld of the great cities of Europe and America have gripped the Russian people by the hair of their heads and have become practically the undisputed masters of that enormous empire. Terrorist Jews. There is no need to exaggerate the part played in the creation of Bolshevism and in the actual bringing about of the Russian Revolution by these international and for the most part atheistical Jews. It is certainly a very great one. It probably outweighs all others. With the notable exception of Lenin, the majority of the leading figures are Jews. Moreover, the principal inspiration and driving power comes from the Jewish leaders. Thus, Chicherin, a pure Russian, is eclipsed by his nominal subordinate Litvinov, and the influence of Russians like Bukharin or Lunacharsky cannot be compared with the power of Trotsky or Zinoviev, the dictator of the Red Citadel in Petrograd, or of Krasin or Radek, all Jews. In the Soviet institutions, the prominence of Jews is even more astounding, and the prominent, if not indeed principal part in the system of terrorism applied by the extraordinary commissions for combating counter-revolution has been taken by Jews, and in some notable cases by Jewesses. The same evil prominence was obtained by Jews in the brief period of terror during which Bela Kun ruled in Hungary. The same phenomenon has been presented in Germany, especially in Bavaria, so far as this madness has been allowed to prey upon the temporary prostration of the German people. Although in all these countries there are many non-Jews, every whit as bad as the worst of the Jewish revolutionaries, the part played by the latter in proportion to their numbers in the population is astonishing. Protector of the Jews. Needless to say, the most intense passions of revenge have been excited in the breasts of the Russian people. Wherever General Denikin's authority could reach, protection was always accorded to the Jewish population, and strenuous efforts were made by his officers to prevent reprisals and to punish those guilty of them. So much was this the case that the Petlerist propaganda against General Denikin denounced him as the protector of the Jews. The Mrs. Healy, nieces of Mr. Tim Healy, in relating their personal experiences in Kiev, have declared that to their knowledge, on more than one occasion, officers who committed offences against Jews were reduced to the ranks and sent out of the city to the front. But the hordes of brigands by whom the whole vast expanse of the Russian Empire is becoming infested do not hesitate to gratify their lust for blood and for their revenge at the expense of the innocent Jewish population whenever an opportunity occurs. The brigand Makhno, the hordes of Petlura and of Grigoriev, who signalled their every success by the most brutal massacres, everywhere found among the half-stupefied, half-infuriated population an eager response to anti-Semitism in its worst and foulest forms. The fact that in many cases Jewish interests and Jewish places of worship are accepted by the Bolsheviks from the universal hostility has tended more and more to associate the Jewish race in Russia with the villainies which are now being perpetrated. This is an injustice on millions of helpless people, most of whom are themselves sufferers from the revolutionary regime. It becomes, therefore, specially important to foster and develop any strongly marked Jewish movement which leads directly away from these fatal associations. And it is here that Zionism has such a deep significance for the whole world at the present time. A home for the Jews. Zionism offers the third sphere to the political conceptions of the Jewish race. In violent contrast to international communism, it presents to the Jew a national idea of a commanding character. It has fallen to the British government as a result of the conquest of Palestine to have the opportunity and responsibility of securing for the Jewish race all over the world a home and centre of national life. The statesmanship and historic sense of Mr. Balfour were prompt to seize this opportunity. Declarations have been made which have irrevocably decided the policy of Great Britain. The fiery energies of Dr. Weizmann, the leader for the practical purposes of the Zionist project, backed by many of the most prominent British Jews and supported by the full authority of Lord Allenby, are all directed to achieving the success of this inspiring movement. Of course, Palestine is far too small to accommodate more than a fraction of the Jewish race, nor do the majority of national Jews wish to go there. But if, as may well happen, there should be created in our own lifetime by the banks of the Jordan a Jewish state under the protection of the British Crown, which might compromise 3 or 4 millions of Jews, an event would have occurred in the history of the world which, from every point of view, be beneficial and would be especially in harmony with the truest interests of the British Empire. Zionism has already become a factor in the political convulsions of Russia, as a powerful competing influence in Bolshevik circles with the international communistic system. Nothing could be more significant than the fury with which Trotsky has attacked the Zionists generally and Dr. Weizmann in particular. The cruel penetration of his mind leaves him in no doubt that his schemes of a worldwide communistic state under Jewish domination are directly thwarted and hindered by this new ideal, which directs the energies and hopes of Jews in every land towards a simpler, truer and far more attainable goal. The struggle which is now beginning between the Zionist and Bolshevik Jews is little less than a struggle for the soul of the Jewish people. Duty of loyal Jews. It is particularly important in these circumstances that the national Jews in every country who are loyal to the land of their adoption should come forward on every occasion, as many of them in England have already done, and take a prominent part in every measure for combating the Bolshevik conspiracy. In this way, they will be able to vindicate the honour of the Jewish name and make it clear to all the world that the Bolshevik movement is not a Jewish movement, but is repudiated vehemently by the great mass of the Jewish race. But a negative resistance to Bolshevism in any field is not enough. Positive and practicable alternatives are needed in the moral as well as in the social sphere, and in building up with the utmost possible rapidity a Jewish national centre in Palestine, which may become not only a refuge to the oppressed from the unhappy lands of Central Europe, but which will also be a symbol of Jewish unity and the temple of Jewish glory. A task is presented on which many blessings rest.